A significant era in Queensland's education system has been earmarked for termination. External exams, so feared by students until the early 70s, are about to be eliminated altogether. But some teachers and students are arguing that they should be retained for a small group of people who use the exam system as an alternative pathway to university. Terminating the exams may spell the end for a Brisbane institution, Hubbard's, which has coached thousands of Queensland students over the line during the past 6 decades. Karen Berkman reports.
Back in the olden days and right up to 1972, the only way to get through high school in Queensland was to sit and pass the senior exams at the end of grade 12. They were big and brutal. Major subjects like English and maths were 2 3-hour papers. The exams were set by the University of Queensland and the stakes were high. If a student failed or didn't do well enough to go to university, they had to try again next year. But in 1970, the Radford Report recommended a switch to internal assessment only. Since then, that's been the system. But external exams have remained an alternative for students who disliked continuous assessment.
At my old school, I'd have like 3 pieces of assessment due in 1 week and sometimes within a couple of days of each other. And every teacher was like, my subject's the most important, and they didn't really give you any leeway. And so it was pretty stressful, yeah.
Some weeks I had 5 assignments due on the next week, and it was like just bottling up, and, you know, I just couldn't handle that. So we looked at other options, and Hubbard's was one of them.
But after 60 years of preparing students for big exams at the end of Year 12, Hubbard's may be on the way out. The Queensland Studies Authority has decided to discontinue external exams except for languages, forcing all students into continuous assessment.
Massive impact. At the moment, I don't really know how it's going to turn out. It may force the closure of the school. I don't know.
Yep, 15,000, so 100 times 15,000.
Hubbard's is the only private institution giving students an alternative pathway to university.
Our measures of average, mean, median and mode will tend to all be around about the middle of the distribution.
Class sizes are small and it costs about $14,000, usually over 2 years, for a student to complete 5 subjects. For some kids, it's been the perfect solution. When Grace BADMAN was having a baby, her old school advised her to leave. Hubbard's adapted her study schedule to fit in with motherhood.
I actually found having the time home with my baby and that time sort of to myself, I completely did a reassessment and came back this year taking on 4 subjects and different subjects to what I started with last year, and I'm really surprising myself and I think others in how I'm sort of thriving with those choices.
As you see from this piece...
The Queensland Studies Authority says they're phasing out external exams completely because of declining numbers, less than 200 students this year. It won't save them any money, but they believe internal assessment is a better overall measure of a student's accumulated knowledge.
The students have the opportunity throughout the year to demonstrate what they have learnt rather than a one-off examination or one-off assessment piece at the end of the year.
But some academics believe external exams are a better preparation for tertiary study.
We recently had a meeting of about 200 senior maths and physics, chemistry teachers from the top schools in Brisbane and all over, and they voted pretty much unanimously that they would prefer to have external exams like Hubbard sits.
Dr Dean teaches first-year maths at UQ. He says some students don't have the basics, algebra, fractions, even times tables.
There's still lots of good students that come through, but overall the standards have dropped. And I think the internal assessment system is largely responsible.
The head of the QSA says internal assessment has worked well for 40 years.
Our students, when they get to university, as far as the feedback that we're aware, perform extremely well.
While acknowledging that, Hubbard's would like to see the doorway of external exams kept open for kids who are slipping through the cracks in the current system.
There are no other options for them. If this disappears, there's nothing for them. There's nothing for the kid who has been overseas and arrives back in Australia in April. and they're 17 and they want to finish school quickly. We can accommodate them here. There's nothing for the student who's been unwell. By being able to split it over the 2 years and have just 3 subjects and then 2, that's a great boon for some kids. They just need to be able to focus a bit more.
Well, I suffered chronic migraines at my old school, and the system didn't really support it. If you missed a certain amount of time, that's it, you're done, regardless of what you were capable of. So I came to Hubbard's as an alternative to homeschooling, and I haven't ever looked back.
The QSA says 4 other colleges, fully funded by the Education Department, who offer preparation for external exams, are finding their students are less likely to drop out with continuous assessment.
What they've found is that the attrition rate of students not seeing the course out to the end of the year has improved.
Hubbard says its attrition rate is low.
So at this point, I really should declare myself to be an ex-Hubbard student. I spent the last full year of my high school in America as an exchange student. And when I came back to Australia, it was July. Those big exams were just 3 months away. So I went to Hubbard's, studied hard, and got the result I needed to go to university.
Education Minister John Paul Langbroek has a widespread review underway in his department. He points out that the QSA is an independent body, but he's willing to listen to Hubbard's arguments.
If there are ways that we can accommodate them, we'll make sure that we will try to do it, allowing for the fact that obviously funds can be limited, but that we don't want people to miss out simply because they don't fit a system that's got a cookie-cutter mentality.
Karen Berkman reporting there. The LNP's State Convention has called on the Education Minister to direct the Studies Authority to continue to write external exams and that schools be allowed to use them.